What's going on, guys? So I just checked out this article here. It says I worked in Amazon HR and was disgusted at what I was seeing with performance improvement plans. Then I got put on a PIP and knew I had to quit. So if you guys don't know, in the corporate world, a lot of times when they don't like you or they trying to get rid of you or just whatever, for whatever reason, they're going to put you on a PIP, which is what they say on here. It's a performance improvement plan. And so what when that happens, they put you on this plan saying you need to improve this, this, and this, and this. They put a whole list on there, and then if you don't improve it within, let's say, 2 weeks or a month, whatever timeline they give you, they're gonna write you up or they're gonna put you on the next level plan to get rid of you. And then after that, after they write you up or whatever, and then is another disciplinary action, and then most likely they're just gonna get rid of you. But no matter what, the levels get harder. They make it harder and harder for you to reach the objectives or clear the checklist, and then they have a clean reason to get rid of you. So let's read this article here and see what's going on. All right, it says a former HR staffer at Amazon put employees on performance improvement plan known as Pivot. Then the HR staffer who says they developed PTSD from the work was put on their own PIP. An Amazon spokesperson said the account contained inaccuracies about the company's process. Now, it's all across the board on in corporate America. It's all the same. So no matter how they say it, they have their lawyers put in place, and they can always frame it however they want in order to get rid of somebody. Even a top tier person, they can make them look bad too. It's kind of like sports where, there's some really amazing sports players, but they just don't gel well with the team. And guess what? They're just going to be looking for reasons to get rid of you. It's the same thing, same exact thing. You could be top tier and they could look for a reason to get rid of you just because either you don't match in with the group or they just don't like you. So it says here, I worked at Amazon for in HR for several years. Not only did I administer pivots, but I was eventually brought to my attention that I was going to be going through one. They made a mistake by doing that to me. There wasn't a lot of information to justify a poor performance. See, like I said, you don't have to be doing poor performance to be put on a PIP. The pivot goal was a straight across the board 6% number. And as a HR person, that is a hefty figure. And it was driven hard by the HR VPs to show the metrics daily, weekly, to make sure we knew who was in the pipeline. Not to improve, but who was in the pipeline to get out. See, that's exactly what I was talking about. It's not to improve you or anything like that, but they need to find a reason to get you out of the door. There wasn't a lot of interest in improving people. You might be cutting some prime choice with the fat, and they were okay with that. They wanted that number. The managers who had to implement it and tell their people they were on pivot, I would say a majority of them hated it because one, they didn't have the skills to be able to manage performance that soon out of the gate. A lot of our managers were brand new. The first thing you had to do was work with the pivot consultant. So that was somebody in HR besides the manager's business partner, and you talk about it if it was the right time or if it was the wrong time to pivot somebody. I would say 80% of my time ended up being focused one way or another on pivot, either the pivot appeal or the pivot work that managers had to do. And look, I'm not going to say you're going to ever find this somewhere locked down in words, but the idea is if you're putting somebody in pivot, you make that so damn hard that they don't get out. See, just like that. I'm going to highlight that right there. You make it so damn hard that they don't get out of that PIP. Almost always, unless there was some really unique set of situations where it came out during the appeal, the success rate of that was virtually none. When I wasn't working on pivots, working in HR was great. We were supposed to be doing coaching and focusing on strengths and moving people through the organization in a positive way. See, that's the thing. But the thing is, if they really like you and then they are, going through some growth process, they will push you forward and be like, oh, they'll bring you into the office and say, oh, we really like you and there's some open roles out there that we really feel that you should apply to, or something like that. And they'll kind of groom you to move towards that path, So that's only if they like you. So later, when Pivot came back, we had to stack rank all our employees. The way we broke it down, we called it top tier, which was, maybe 15 to 20% by the time it worked out. And then you had the middle, and then you had the bottom tier. The bottom tier was about 20 to 25, maybe up to 30%. The guidelines they expressed publicly may be different because we always worked to make sure we had more than that because some went bad and went off the rails and we couldn't exit them for whatever reason. Here's the thing, about this whole, part of the article right here about the 15 to 20% and all that other stuff. Anything in life, you have your A tier people, B tier, C people, C tier, and D, and all that other stuff, right? But of course, usually most companies just keep A, B, and C's. And then, of course, there's some D's that they might keep around just because they just know how to work the system and they just know how to hang around or whatever like that. But most of the time, it's just A, B, and C people, But if you're a D type person, they're gonna look to get rid of you, and then if there's somebody that they don't like, they're gonna look to get rid of you too. We were way over how many people were actually underperforming or detrimental to the business. Maybe around 1% to 2% were actually not performing well. That's not even a great number. So let's say there's like 1 to 2% that was not performing. So if you have a staff of 100, only two of them were really doing bad. 98% of them were doing good. So that's just crazy right there. But they have to get rid of somebody. So it says here, I have PTSD. I was disgusted at what I was seeing with the pivot process. This process alone has given me post traumatic stress disorder. It impacted me so much that I had to get out of there. When it was justified, it was easier to push someone out. If it's deserved, there's no problem. When it wasn't deserved, you had people crying and begging and they couldn't understand. And that's the thing. It's just like going through a breakup and they're not going to tell you the exact reasons why they want to break up. And you're going to be crying and begging and not understanding what the whole situation was. You had visa sponsored employees who were once pivoted and then moved them out, no longer were authorized to work in the United States. So they had to make immediate plans to get out of the country. And it's a long process to get sponsored by another group. In the years I was there, I never ever had any performance issue given to me. See, throughout her whole career within that company, she never had any issues at all. And for some reason, they're giving her a PIP now. It means it's just time to get rid of your ass. That's all it is, for whatever reason. Not even anything close to being serious. I had no worries because I asked for feedback all the time and I'm like, what can I do? How can I do better? I didn't ever want to be blindsided by Pivot itself myself. And what a lot of people did if they got the indication that they were going down the track was they would transfer jobs right away. Some people were successful, a lot of people weren't. Yeah, I've gotten that too. So if I felt like they were going to kick me out, they didn't like me anymore, I would start looking for another job or start trying to transfer or something like that. So, normally with a performance improvement plan as a HR person, you're following progressive discipline. Or you seeing notes that this person is having trouble, or you seeing coaching conversations that are taking place. So, for it to actually just boom, be there is really problematic. It was my turn. During my performance evaluation, when it was clear I was on a PIP, my manager shared criticisms that I'd never heard before. I said, I've never had any of these comments come to me ever. Essentially, it was a lot of made up stuff. I mean, you could put some truth to it. I've been late on a few assignments, but everybody's got some element of things they can improve on in their work. My managers chose to bring those out. So Amazon broke down people in three categories. You were either top tier, middle of the pack, or at least or at least effective. I think what they mean in that article is say the least effective. Normally, they won't tell you what they rated you. And I'm like, come on, I know this stuff just as much as you. I know the wording. You didn't put me in the medium category. Would you just admit that you put me in the least effective category? And I got my manager to admit that. I wasn't put on pivot. My manager wanted to work with me a little bit to see if I was going to commit to the job. So they sat me down and said I could go on pivot and leave right away, or they would work with me. Well, obviously, not having any job opportunities, I said, look, I'm in it. Let's try to get better and go from there. So my manager took away all my direct reports and shoved me into a small box and said, you could do this and try to work yourself out of it. Right after that, I started putting into full push to get another job. And so I started interviewing. I actually had a headhunter that reached out to me. Originally, I told her no, but then some stuff happened. And I'm like, let's revisit it. I got to the point where they offered me a job and I was going to quit, but I had a huge stock investment coming up. Oh, there you go. So there's the part when they give you stocks or something like that, and it's getting close to maturity status. A lot of times they'll try to get rid of you, so it won't reach the maturity status. So so there was no way I was going. So there was no way I was going to rock the boat in any way, shape, or form, just trying to get to this date. So if you walked away during the pivot or any time before you had your investment, before it was there for you, you would lose it all. I'm not talking a little bit of money. I'm talking a couple $100,000 coming to me. That's a lot of money right there. I played along and I'm good at playing along when I have to be. So then the money is in my account. That next day, I called my manager and told them I was resigning. They blew a gasket. See, you played them against you played them at their game and you reversed it and you messed them up. You got your maturity on the investment and then now you're saying you're out. So now they're pissed about it because they were trying to get rid of you before then. And then they gave you a second chance to redeem yourself. They blew a gasket, absolutely blew a gasket because I told them that I was in it for the long run. I said, look, you gave me no choice. This put threat against me. I'm not going to sit there and wait for it to be dependent on you. You get to make the call whether I make it or not. My manager was super mad and asked me when I was leaving. I said 2 weeks. They were incredulous that I wasn't giving them more respect. The biggest thing, and I'm going to say this for many, many people that were on Pivot, is there were no warning signs. There was no trail of communication saying you're underperforming. I mean, even if there's something as simple as, hey, you can do better on this next time, I know certainly I got zero negative feedback. I got the feedback that I was rocking it. And then all of a sudden to be in this place, it's like, huh? I still wonder what happened to all the people that went through the process. How did it impact their life? I think it leads to a lot of mental health issues. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that just want to work the job. They just want to grind and go about their life and do their 9 to 5 or whatever job they're doing and go home and just enjoy their life or whatever like that. And then when this hits them, whether it's a layoff or getting let go or going put through this or whatever, they go through some I guess confidence issues and mental like it says mental health issues. But it is a confidence decreaser. It really lowers down your morale about any company you work for. It's like corporate's not there for you or any job's not there for you. You already know it. That's why a lot of people go through phases of trying to start up their own companies or do something else or whatever. You already see the writing on the wall. It's just it depends on what you're capable of. What skill level you have, what you're able to bring to the table, things like that. But yeah, I mean that was a really great article, and it speaks a lot of truth. And this HR writer right here, told you a lot of things that you might know already, but this pretty much solidifies it for you, or really confirms things for you, what you know. So if you've been put on a PIP or this pivot thing or whatever like that, don't ever be discouraged. If they find a reason to let you go, it is what it is. You just have to, brush the dirt off your shoulders and find something else and find a company or a department. Is not usually the company, it's usually the department. If you can find a certain department that can take care of you and be good to you and stuff like that, and you blend in really well, that's the best thing to do right there. Because I remember working in a big Fortune 500 company. I was in this one department and I was miserable there. I hated it, And then for some reason, I figured out a way to move to a different department, and it was like night and day. The other department that I moved to, I was so happy. There was much more flexibility, there was much more room for growth and all sorts of stuff. So it's a big difference when you move different departments depending on the company. I hope you guys enjoyed this article that I was checking out. But, anyways, I will talk to you later.